It's been more than 2 weeks since Abbott Nutrition cut a deal with the FDA to begin work towards reopening their Sturgis, Michigan plant at the center of February's formula recall. But last week, the FDA commissioner told Congress it would still be several weeks before the plant is back up and running. Now, the Office of the Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services is reviewing all of the FDA's actions leading up to the recall, and that is a necessary step. We all have very serious questions about who knew what and when. With stores still struggling to keep formula on the shelves, companies have begun importing formula to try to meet demand. Meanwhile, the White House announced that starting June 9th, United Airlines will fly 3.7 million bottles worth of formula from Europe to the U.S. But despite the best efforts of the major players in the market and even the government, the formula shortage is still a major issue. New data from market research firm IRI shows that nationally, nearly 23% of powdered baby formula was out of stock in the week that ended May 22nd, compared to an out-of-stock rate of 11% during a typical pandemic-era week. During the first week of January, all of this as the White House continues to struggle to answer basic questions about what happened. During a virtual roundtable with formula makers Wednesday, President Biden acknowledged that he didn't anticipate the impact a factory shutdown would have at the time, and says he didn't realize there was even going to be a problem until well after the recall in February.
I don't think anyone anticipated the impact of the shutdown of one facility in the Abbott facility. I became aware of this problem sometime after April, in early April, about how intense it was.
He says he doesn't know that anyone knew. How is that possible? In particular, because the formula makers told the president this week that they knew that this would be a serious issue as soon as the Abbott recall came down on February 17th.
Aware of the general impact that this would have. And so from the moment that that recall was announced, we reached out immediately to retail partners like Target and Walmart to tell them this is what we think will happen. We knew from the very beginning this would be a very serious event.
The very first thing we did when we heard about the Abbott recall was we could foresee that this was going to create a tremendous shortage.
Not only that, but stores were sounding alarms as early as January. Even top White House aides say they'd been working on the formula crisis since the Abbott plant was shut down in February. This is months before the president now says he knew there was a problem.
All I can tell you, as a whole of government approach, we have been working on this since the recall in February. We have been working on this since we found out about the recall since day one. That is what I'm laying out to all of you as a timeline. That is what it's important here to know, that as a whole of government approach, we have taken this on since the first day that we learned about the recall.
But there were clear warning signs even before the recall. Here's what we know about what the government and the FDA knew and when they knew it. September 20th, 2021, the FDA inspects the Abbott plant in Sturgis, found multiple sanitation issues, noting that people working directly with formula didn't properly wash their hands when needed, didn't change gloves after touching non-food services. A month later, on October 20th of last year, a 34-page whistleblower complaint to the FDA documents problems at the plant going back to 2010. The document alleges that Abbott had released untested infant formula, hid information during past FDA audits, and had lax cleaning practices. However, none of those claims have been independently verified. In late December 2021, the FDA interviews the whistleblower. But, and this is key, for more than a month, there's almost no developments in the story. Until the very end of January, when an FDA inspection team finally entered the Sturgis plant where they found, quote, significant operational deficiencies. FDA inspectors ended up making 24 visits to Abbott's Sturgis plant between January 31 and March 18th, including on February 1st, when inspectors returned to the facility to collect samples, which later contained the presence of that dangerous Chronobacter bacteria. However, the bacteria was not found in the formula itself. According to the FDA, they first held these interagency talks about possible supply chain disruptions on February the 14th, 3 days before the recall was announced. According to the FDA commissioner, some key senior FDA officials didn't even receive the whistleblower report until this time due to, quote, mailroom staffing issues. On February 17th, the FDA announces that it's investigating reports of 4 suspected Chronobacter-related illnesses in 3 states, including 1 baby who died and another who died after the investigation was announced. Abbott maintains that there's no conclusive evidence its products contributed to those cases, but still announced a voluntary recall of a number of products, including powdered formulas made at the Sturgis facility, on the same day. Finally, on February 28th, a second infant dies of suspected Chronobacter-related illness, and Abbott expands its recall. But even before the recall, formula was becoming increasingly hard to find in stores, and prices were on the rise. In some ways, the baby formula shortage was also connected to the pandemic that killed supply chains. Early on, many parents bought as much baby formula as they could, and hoarding led to wild fluctuations in demand. Parents were looking to buy formula. Many had bought enough to last them for months. So again, how is it that President Biden only learned of the issue in April? If that's true, shouldn't whoever was responsible for informing him be fired? Other factors, such as exclusive contracts handed out by the government's supplemental nutrition program for low-income families, limited the domestic formula manufacturing base, and import taxes, restrictions designed to protect U.S. milk producers made it difficult, all right, to quickly ramp up demand. But look, playing the partisan blame game on something like the baby formula shortage gets us nowhere. But it is becoming more and more apparent that the shortage could have and should have been handled differently. There is no reason the government wasn't better prepared, especially since the FDA knew about possible issues at the Sturgis facility as early as last fall. I'm glad there's an investigation underway, an independent one. We need to understand how this happened and how to prevent it from happening again. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.